and take a ride.
Did I ever tell you that Pantera was at my bachelor party?
No.
I never told you this shit?
No.
Pantera was at my bachelor party.
All of Pantera, original Pantera.
Phil wasn't there, but
Diamond Vinny.
Yeah, and Rex.
Rex.
Dude,
cool.
So
that's Pantera.
My future brother-in-law, he got the biggest limo he could get and stuffed like 15 of us in there, and we went to like 3 strip clubs, and by the time we got to the Foxy Lady, we exhausted the upstairs. I mean, my brother-in-law was going crazy spending money on me. And we went down this little downstairs, and I look over and I see this big dude with giant boxing gloves beating the shit out of some stripper.
What?
I'm like, but the stripper's trying like hell to beat him up too. But he's like, whack, slapping this stripper around with giant boxing gloves.
Did she have gloves on too?
Yeah, giant boxing.
You want to keep it fair.
And I'm like, what is going on here? Because I couldn't tell what was going on. And my buddy who was there with me hits me in the shoulder. He's like, and standing right there where that fucking tripod was Dimebag. And I was like, dude! And it was like on because I saw them the night before. It was fucking incredible. And all the stories you hear about Pantera, like just problematic drinking, we got so fucked up. Me and my buddy Sean, we got so fucked up. Like we drank
Crown and Coke.
Yeah, black Tooth Grins all night. Dude, when it was time, like we were trying to get out of there, and their limo driver he saw how fucked up we were. Pantera's limo driver was trying to put us in their limo because we just like long-haired scumbags. And we're like, what's going on? Like, there's like, 15 other dudes. Like, where are they all? And he's like, come on, get in there. You'll be good in there. And we're like, what the fuck? But that was one crazy night. And we found our limo and we went to 2 more strip clubs. I remember calling the limo guy from the back seat. Hey, buddy, you got to pull over now. And it was just like, woof. And almost everybody in the limo was throwing up on the side of the road. It was so fucked up. Worst hangover of my life. Next day, me and my buddy who was with me, we had to work at the guitar store. And I was just hugging the toilet. A nasty ass
year?
story.
What year was that?
When Vulgar Display of Power was out, they played in Worcester.
They played the Worcester Odd. Was it when they opened up for Skid Row?
Skid Row opened for them, I think. Wasn't it?
No.
Oh, it was the other way around?
Yeah, they opened up for the Slaves of the Grind tour. Yeah, I got the
Yes.
ticket. The ticket's up on the wall.
Yeah, that show was sick.
Awesome. Dude, it was
Yeah,
awesome.
It was incredible. The next day was my bachelor party, and I saw them at the Foxy Lady.
Wow.
And we locked.
That was
like,
92.
Was it?
Yeah,
We
92.
locked immediately. It was like,
91.
I
92.
know you, dude. It was just like it was just like, let's party. Like they found their dudes at the bar,
Right.
We got fucked up.
That's awesome.
But that was my bachelor party.
You win.
I can't believe I never told you that
No,
story.
dude, I would have remembered that one. That's crazy. But I went to that show. My brother, myself, Tony, Monaco, a few others. I think like Slick, Matt Lampisone. I think. Yeah, we went. It was Slave to the Grind.
Was it
with
the
Vulgar?
the Palladium?
It was the Worcester Odd.
Odd.
What the
Yeah,
Worcester
that place
Odd?
was fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. That show was amazing. Dimebag's wireless kept cutting out during that show. And that's how I like broke the ice with him. Like, dude, what the fuck's with your wireless? He's like, I know, bro. And it was like, let's drink. And I'm like, what the fuck? It was like being in a tornado of alcohol and like
That
just, like,
show well, I think during those times too, they had that it must have been a tech who would like go out there with like a big 10-gallon hat and like pretend to be Dimes.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the Worcester Odd, that is on the Vulgar video. So like their home video, the Vulgar Display of Power Vulgar video, that show is on there.
That show was
because
nasty.
somebody threw a fucking bag of joints. Somebody threw a bag of joints up onto the stage, and Phil picks it up. He's like, "Oh, thanks." And yeah, that was the exact same show. Yeah. In Skid Row, dude, I couldn't watch them afterwards because I didn't know like Pantera. I knew Cowboys from Hell, like the tune, But I was like, wow, that's awesome. But like I was so into Skid Row. I still am.
Dude,
I love
Skid Row.
I still love the shit out of Skid Row.
Right then. They were peak. And Pantera fucking smashed them.
They definitely left a fucking impression for sure. For sure. The same thing happened to me when I went to go see I went to see Van Halen on the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour at the Centrum, and Alice in Chains opened up, and I knew Man in the Box. So it was the only tune, or We Die Young and Man in the Box, but we fucking got in there, and dude, love the shit out of Van Halen. Always loved Van Halen, but with them opening up, like you see a band that was like that.
You never heard that before.
Well, I just not. The tempos were slower, and like just everything was just kind of, you know what I mean? Like when you make the air move the room the way it moves in a room when everybody's reverberating. It's like a reverberating thing. And I just remember everything was like, and I was waiting. I went there to hear Van Halen tunes, like, you know? So I was like, holy shit. Now I'm going to think about Alice in Chains during the Van Halen set. And I did. I was like, oh my God, I can't. That was intense. It was super intense.
Back in like 89 or 90, Extreme was by far my favorite band on earth. And I'm walking down that alley at the Orpheum in the city, and it says Extreme, and underneath it says Alice in Chains. And I remember like looking to, I forget who I was with. I'm like, the fuck is Alice in Chains? I was like so disappointed because the name was so dumb to me. So I was like, did you ever see Spinal Tap when they're doing the puppet show and there's a dude in the front row going, that was me during. I was like, fuck this shit. It was annoying as fuck to me. Yeah, this is before Man in the Box came out, I think.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then Extreme came out and destroyed them. But whatever, it was like 6 months later when Dirt came out or whatever. It wasn't a long time. Holy shit. That's when I got like hooked.
Yeah, no.
I was big time hooked.
But that's the thing, is that you have these bands that are like just so powerful that are doing something at the time. And you went to go see the headliner. Like, you know, am I going to show up to see the opener or whatever? And I remember just now in retrospect, I'm like, thank God I got to see Pantera then. I got to see, you know what I mean? And I saw Skid Row. My first like concert was Bon Jovi with Skid Row opening with self-title. So it was at the Great Woods,
like 88 or some shit.
Yeah, it was around there. Yeah, and I don't know how my mother just agreed. I don't know, but there were the kids that I went to school with. I went to Catholic school. It was like 8th grade, and they got a limo. Like one of the kids told the parents to rent a limo. The whole
Did
thing.
He get a bunch of hookers and a bag of powder?
Dude, well, when you at Great Woods, you have the first section, and then you have that big walkway, and then the second section, and then lawn seats, right? We were perched up in the middle of the second section. So we're just looking down at the time where I was like 12 years old, and it just looked like a MTV, just like runway. Just a runway of just runway models. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
And then Skid Row came out, and I remember Sebastian was like talking to some girl in the front, and he goes, she gave him like a flower. And he's like, oh yeah, you know, it got kind of sappy at one point. Then he stuck the rose in his mouth, and he fucking chewed it, and he spit it at her. And he's like, making a mess at me. And they just went into the tunes. And then from that point, I was like, once again, I can't not think about Skid Row during Bon Jovi's set.
Is that the show where he threw a bottle and hit a girl in the face?
I don't think so. No. It wasn't that
because I thought
one.
that was local.
No. But we always watch the home videos. So it's like, you know, we started off with the Skid Row home videos, and then Pantera started putting the home videos. And I was like, holy shit.
Korn had a good one.
Yeah.
I'm sure Creed's is fucking killer.
Well, you're making me realize that I think my biggest music regret is having never seen Pantera live. I never got to see.
Really?
I never got to see real Pantera, and it really bums me out. As far as like, you know, the what's your biggest musical regret having never seen live when you had the opportunity? I'm not talking about bands before you were born, but
I was gonna say Beethoven, so you got me there.
Yeah, no, but I blew it. I blew it with Pantera. I'm so fucking bummed. Well, I'll never know.
Make sure you see Ricky Martin before it's too late.
That's another one. There's still time for that. It's true.
Yeah, no, but our intentions weren't to go see Pantera. We were like
I understand.
huge Skid Row fans, so like it was by
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So it's even that stings even worse. You saw him by accident.
Right. But our older friends, guys who were like 3 to 4 years older than us, man, they can't stand Pantera. They can't. They were like making fun. Like making fun of us for listening to Pantera. They're like, those guys are faggots. You know, I was like, all right. I was like, sorry. I was like, their tunes are so good. You know what I mean? So I'm going back to looking at it from a song level. Right. I was like, those songs are just so well put together. The energy's right. Like,
and just the live sound, just those 4 dudes and what came out.
Do you ever meet anybody who only likes original Pantera, like the glam version?
No.
They stopped after the first album.
What was your first show? I mean, I was for some reason decided to tell you my first show, but what was your first show?
I think my first legit concert was it was a festival, and the most important part of the festival was Faith No More.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like one of those like local bazooka or something. I don't know, 97, 98.
Okay.
And I just remember
it would have been Faith then, no yes. Because so they were on the, what was the name of that record? Something of the Year?
King
for a Lifetime.
Cup of Sorrow. No.
It was King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime.
I'm on the spot now. It was right before they broke up. It was right before they had stopped.
Oh, right.
King for a Day.
Yeah, it was King for a Day.
Are you sure?
I don't know.
It's one of those outdoor festivals. I think Kid Rock was on like a side stage. No one gave a shit. But did you guys ever play those festivals, like the local bazooka stuff?
I did. I was so lucky to play once. It was the year the fucking planes flew into the Twin Towers, so nobody could fly in or out or whatever. So half the bands canceled. So. We were like one of the headliners because nobody else could get there. No, it was dope, but there was like, I would say there was probably 20,000 people in the crowd. It was pretty cool. Very little footage because nobody filmed fuck all back then.
Right.
But I have some like little clips of footage and shit. But I mean, that was fun back then because it was local and they were playing us or whatever. But yeah.
Was it like one of the Limp Bizkit ones? Or do you remember East Side?
Those are my boys, dude. I produced some of their records. Yeah,
I remember. No shit.
Yeah, they were at the time. They were fucking legit. East Side was the craziest.
They were awesome.
Fucking band of people, lunatics, fucking mental cases. They were fun, like real mental cases, like the kind of like a walking, like jackass movie. Where nothing's sacred. It was pretty fucking awesome. It was just weird, you know.
My first show, 1995, Green Day, Worcester Centrum, on the Insomniac tour after they had blown up. So my parents took me and 3 of my friends. We were in 8th grade. We had nosebleeds at the back of the Centrum, and we kept seeing these like waves of people in the side section rushing the floor and like crowd surfing.
Right.
So like, we want to do that. So we started just like making our way down through the crowd to get to like the side of the loge where we could access the floor. So we just waited there. We somehow got down close enough where we saw like the next wave of people going. We just like ran with them. And like there was like three of my friends like kind of single file. I remember I was the last in line holding on to the back of one of their shirts. 3 of them get through. I get punched in the head by security and like totally roadhouse, back of my neck and belt just like thrown back up the stairs. And then I like turned around. My friends are like having the best time of their life. I had to like go up back to the nosebleeds to where my parents are sitting, just like watch the show. Like I wish I had binoculars at this point. But that was,
How old were you?
14.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
I was 11 and my parents dropped me and my brother and sister off at the Portland Civic Center to see Aerosmith. I was 11. They were like, yeah, we'll see you in a few hours. And I was like, fuck yeah, you will. So I had never been to a show, and my sister's 2 years older than me, and her Irish twin is a year older than her. And they walked in and marched straight up to the very last seat in the whole venue, in the very top, what you would deem the shittiest seat in the place. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And my brother pulls out a whole bunch of joints. He's like, here we go. And he starts, and they just start getting ripped. I'm like, what the, how did I not know about this? Like fucking, and they proceeded to get lit. And I don't recall if I did, I might have, but the thing that was cool about it, there's two things. Like I said, fuck this. And I got up and I, by myself, I went and walked around and I was like basically front row. But this is like a famous Aerosmith concert where Steven Tyler like passed out on the fucking stage. And I'm like, this is rock and roll. Like, this is the real shit here. I'm like, this dude ain't sleeping. He's fucked right now. And I'm like, I'm in. I want to do this. And then 2 weeks later, I got and by the way, the ticket, and 2 weeks later, I saw AC/DC Flick of the Switch tour.
Wow.
Same thing, except I immediately was like, I ain't sitting in this fucking seat. And nobody's stopping an 11-year-old kid. So I walked around every single spot everywhere. I remember Angus, like, I saw Angus's ass, and I feel like that was kind of rapey. But I wanted to say that the tickets on both of those tickets was like $11.25.
Wow.
Damn.
Imagine that shit.
Wow.
Oh, and this is AC/DC and Aerosmith. Like, who's bigger than that? Right. $11.25.
Yeah, what did AC/DC tickets just go for?
You tell me. I bet it was hundreds.
They're up there. They were up there, yeah.
Yeah, I bet it's a lot.
I saw Green Day only once, dude. I saw him once, and everybody claims that they went and saw this exact show. I am
the Riot show?
I was there.
You were at the Riot?
I was there.
Melissa was at the Riot too.
I was at the Esplanade because it was the only time, and this was the wildest thing, walking on Sturrow Drive because of the way they had to clear everyone out was the craziest. That's the craziest memory for me. But I remember going, and there was so many people, and three things that I remember. One, there were people who were stretching blankets out. There was like a bunch of people like standing around blankets and pulling them out and then just
whipping people in the air.
Dude, they were going up so high. You could see them. So you would see, and there was a couple of them. So
there was not paralyzed, dude. Paralyzed.
But I'm saying like a lot of people being able to make enough room to be able to pull that tight and then snapping people. So I remember that. I remember whoever was either, you know, the MC of the show getting on the mic and being like, we are going to stop. We're going to stop. So they were warning. I remember the warnings. And then I remember it closing down and everybody being pushed out, but they had to close Sturrow. So we walked across. There's like that bridge.
Yeah, the Arthur Fiedler Bridge. I've been trapped on that bridge when school let out, man. It's fucking scary.
We climbed over and walked across Sturrow as if they like closed the street down for a festival. That's what it felt like. Remember, I had to walk. It was glass. Everyone was crazy. So it was the only time I was there. I definitely was there. I was there with a few people that, you know, that would remember if they hear this podcast, that they were there with me too.
Yeah, my girl was there too. She says all the same shit. Yeah.
Go back to the Loco Bazooka that you were talking about earlier. There was one, it was like River Rave or one of the AAF events in the summers in '99. They had it at Winter Island in Salem. It's like a little trailer area where if you're traveling in an RV, you can stay there and like hitch out for electricity and whatever. So my grandparents happened to be staying there the week of the River Rave, and you couldn't buy tickets. You had to win them. But they had like their sticker for the car to get in and out of like the where the trailers were. So I loaded my car up with friends, dropped off one group over the bridge in the Salem from Beverly, drove back, got a bunch more, just went right in the back. And we were like right next to like Megadeth was the headliner. It was Megadeth and Powerman 5000. So we were backstage, like no business being back there. Like where everyone was
business. Like, you had your backstage pass.
Yeah. And so we were only there just because we liked Megadeth back then, but Power Man, yeah. So
was it before Power Man moved to Mars or after?
It was before, I think.
Oh, cool.
Whoa.
That's cool, Power Man.
Wait, that's like, yeah, but that's what, 95?
Yeah.
96?
Oh, this was after. This was 99.
Yeah, no, they were already in space.
Oh, they moved to space.
They're already,
yeah, my bad.
So then during Power Man's set, I remember we were like, it was on a field, so it was just kind of like Woodstock where they just like find an area and just shove a ton of kids in. So people in the back were chucking full bottles of like water. Fucking water guy. Fucking water bottles and like Gatorade and like soda, whatever. So you had to like keep your like, if you're watching the stage, you had to like keep looking over your shoulder because dudes were just getting drilled with bottles. So like it ended up like dispersing a bunch of the crowd because it got like out of control to a degree.
It just looked like A lot of people were really excited. And then it looked like things were people were a little bit too excited. That's what it was. It's like, you saw, I was like, wow, this is awesome. Everybody's together. There's a radio show. It was awesome. And then like, we were like, whoa, I wonder if things go wrong over here. Like, where's everybody going to go? And then it was like, whoa, it's getting kind of dangerous. And then when they were like, that's it, it's over. Boom, boom. You hear them pull the plug. Bang. You hear the guitar chord come on, all that shit. And then it was like people just turning around, and you had to kind of turn around and go. You were like, all right, what's fuck shit?
Or you get trampled.
Yeah, no, it was intense. Yeah, it was cool. Were you backstage? Like you went backstage because you had passes because of the parking only.
Yeah,
you were back there.
Yeah, so the buses were lined up, and then the trailers were there, and then no one else seeing the show could go back.
That was Great Woods?
No, it was you know the Salem Willows?
Yep.
It's like there's a little area off that called Winter Island.
Okay. Sorry,
so it's basically the Willows in Salem.
Okay, the Willows.
And
hello, me. It's me again.
I think it was what was 99? It must have been Risk. Was it the Risk album?
Yeah, not the best.
No, they took a risk on that one.
That was about the time we got to play a lot of. You did too, like a lot of radio.
They had them. They had
radio shows.
They had radio shows, and they were always good for some people, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the WAAF stuff was
FNX was really nice to us.
FNX,
so they had done, we were at least invited to play a few of them.
Was that because you were fucking somebody that worked there?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's good.
Songs are catchy.
Yeah. Yeah, that came later.
No. But those shows, they would close the street. They close the whole entire Lansdowne Street. You could walk on Lansdowne Street, but like, I mean, yeah, you can walk on.
Who did you guys play with on that one?
The hell was that?
Was that Bill's
Vertical Horizon? They were one of the bands.
Who the fuck is that?
You talking about Bill's Bash?
That was a 90s band.
No, they would shut down Lansdowne Street.
With all the bars. Venues?
Yeah, and then they would put a show in
Avalon, Axis.
Well, we're right at the end of the street where Bill's is, and then there's the Lansdowne Pub.
Yeah,
that one right there. They put a stage that went right across us.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so it would like be right before the corner where MGM is now. There'll be the stage. That's backstage at that point.
Wow.
And then they would close the top of the street. And then people would just go and play Mamakin, Bills, Axis, Avalon. And they would just have, I remember seeing... the
good old day.
Was it during that same thing? Was it Big Wreck? I know Big Wreck played one of those.
I played one of those.
Did you?
I played one. I don't know the year, but the Run DMC... closed off Lansdowne Street, and they had all the stage went completely across the street. And then when you got to where the stage was Avalon, and my band was playing Avalon with Buck Cherry, and there was another really dope band playing that same night, but the street was nuts. They don't do that shit no more.
No.
It was I
remember seeing you in the big room at Mamakin. I was so envious too. I was like, God damn these guys. The one that I remember a lot from that night was in the crowd. You could see, and I don't think I'm confusing the shows either. I'm almost dead positive it was your band playing, but you could see a person that just was a head and a half taller. It was Alexi Lawless, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, Alexi Lawless, the defender on for the USA, soccer, national team at the time. He fucking was just, you could see him bouncing around. You could tell because he had big red hair.
Yeah.
Joe Bob hair.
Yeah. And he's just like, and he was jumping around. You guys.
That is so vaguely familiar. Like you're just touching on like a fringe of one of my last little synopses of the time.
I remember because we were playing the smaller room, you know what I mean? We were always like, whoa, it'd be awesome to play the big room. And we were like, no, I can't play the big room.
Yeah, but you weren't fucking good enough, were you, Frank?
We weren't, dude. No, not at all. Not at all.
No, it has nothing to do with that, I'll tell you. You weren't blowing the right dude.
I guess that, but I know that you guys, because of the genre of music you were playing at the time and the momentum, like the place was packed. So it wasn't like you guys played to a small, an empty room. That room was full. And then you could see Alexi Lawless bopping around.
We also did one of those too, playing with Linkin Park. That was a great memory, actually. I think it was the pinnacle of how we played, like, period, because we were really on that night. But from the time we loaded in, for some reason, Chester was just like, yo, let's hang out and smoke weed and fuck around. Like, because I don't know, maybe his friends were nerds. I don't know, but it was just cool. It was super cool. And then we fucking slayed. There were people like hanging from the chains in Roxy and shit, like swinging. It was wild. It was totally fucking wild. But that was another one of those radio shows back when that shit mattered. And if they do them now, I wouldn't even know, I guess. Maybe they do them and I don't know.
There's some radio stations that are like in the country definitely that still, have some juice. Like, and they still have those big festivals with big bands that show up.
They definitely do, yeah.
Up here, though, I mean, we got a lot of venues now that are pretty, like, stacked as far as attendance. House of Blues was the one where, like, oh my God, it's the biggest, place around here. And then you got Roadrunner.
Well, they parked. Yeah, I was gonna say they parked a Burger King across the street. Well, if you go look at any band's tour schedule, almost none of them go northeast. It's fucked up. I mean, I guess I don't blame them. Everybody stands with their arms folded, like, fucking. Let's get a fucking Dunkin' kid and get out of here.
Sounds like you the first time you saw Alice in Chains. You're like, who the fuck are these queers?
For real. One day, a friend of mine called and he's like, get your shit. I'm going to pick you up. We're going to Providence. I'm directing a show for Alice in Chains. I want you to be a cameraman. And this was the first show that they had played with William Duvall, who's fucking nasty, by the way. The dude is nasty. And I'm like, I don't really know. This is like a long time ago before I kind of got into doing this. And I'm standing around and everybody there, I could tell they're all nerds. They all know all this shit. And I'm just waiting. And he's like, here, take this camera and you go get in the middle, right in front of the stage. It was fucking killer. It was an absolutely incredible situation. They were amazing. And then that concert was done. It was like 20 cameras or whatever. And the band was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and delete it. And I was like, oh man, that's fucking terrible because it was so good. But, that was cool.
Whoa.
So, they were amazing.
Yeah, that guy's got a voice on him, man.
He is good, dude.
Yeah.
I have one more if you guys want to hear it.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why. I really don't know why, but I make really good meatballs. Like, they're pretty good, man. I mean, now I'm forced to bring you motherfuckers meatballs. But anyways.
I pay you in meatballs.
So a friend of mine who I've met from working with like Godsmack, his name's Viggy. We were working together and I needed something from him. He's like, well, it's going to cost you. I'm like, I make nasty meat. He's like, you pay me meatballs. You bring me meatball sandwiches. So I paid him. He's like, those meatball sandwiches are fucking good. And he was, I don't know what he is now for Tommy, but he was Tommy Lee's, dude. For Mötley Crüe, he would run the visuals and all this shit for many, many, many years and work with the band. And every time Crüe would come to town, he'd be like, yeah, I need those meatballs and bring some for Tommy. And every year I would bring a fucking igloo cooler full of meatballs with a thing of Frank's Red Hot, some grated fucking cheese and some sub rolls.
And a bag of Coke.
And no, I never did that. And that was like cool. Oh, I make meatballs for fucking Tommy Lee. That's cool. One year he's like, yeah, and Gene and Paul want your meatballs too. I'm like, you fucking telling me Gene and Paul want my fucking meatballs? He's like, yeah, they hear me talking about. So I brought 2 coolers that year and I gave KISS meatballs and I gave Mötley Crüe meatballs. It's just a weird fucking thing. I figured, what the fuck? That's just weird.
Did they get to meet the chef though?
Well, I would hang out in the bus or whatever, and I would get fucking killer seats and passes and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I already have the holiday T-shirt designs in my brain right now. Quotes on the back too, but I picture meatballs with KISS makeup on them.
That's funny.
And then the Theater of Pain masks on a couple
Theater
of
of meatballs.
Theater of meatballs.
Kiss my
Too
balls.
fast for meatballs.
Too fast for meatballs.
There it is, boys.
Whoop, whoop.